So today we're going to build a little bridge across this creek or ditch or gutter that carries the water from my pond that's leaking away. Let me show you what's going on. So we're going to build a bridge across this creek, ditch, whatever, out to the barn. And the reason we're doing so is because we've got this walkout on our basement right here. And I thought it'd be really cool to be able to come out of this basement steps right here, go straight, cross a bridge, perhaps across a boardwalk, and make your way out to the pond, as opposed to having to walk over here to where vehicular traffic is going in and out. This obviously isn't necessary with that over there, but it's going to be a cool aesthetic, and I'm going to do it for pretty cheap. Obviously, I've already gotten started, did kind of the headache work off camera over the last 3 or 4 days, just when I had an hour or so here and there. On this side, I had to excavate out a little bit with the backhoe, which blew a hydraulic line, which was really awesome. And the best part though is that it wasn't really an important hydraulic line. It was just the one that controls the boom and the stick cylinder, so not a big deal. I cut a little trench for these cinder blocks, put those in vertically, and packed all this in with some millings I had laying around. Should provide for a nice level base and keep our cross supports up kind of off the ground. I said this is going to be pretty cheap. Be pretty simple too. On this side, as you can see, the contour of the ground kind of coming down pretty significantly on these sides here. So I piled up a bunch of millings, and then again set cinder blocks in here, leveled them up, tamped everything in. I likely will throw some old concrete around here to keep this from kind of washing out. I have some bags that have been hardened up on accident, or some big concrete slabs over there. But this is going to serve as my foundation. I'm going to be using telephone poles, which I bought for 20 bucks a pop on Craigslist, actually, about 6 or 7 years ago. But these big boys here are going to be the main structural supports. I'm going to use 3 of them, and just going to be kind of sat right on top of those cinder blocks. These are about 14 or 15 inches wide, these outer two. I think that was about 12 or 13, about a little over 19 feet long. And in total, the bridge is going to be 6 feet wide, and I'm going to be topping it with 2x6. As I started this process, put out a string line here just to kind of make sure my heights above the string are pretty well close to one another and ensure I'll be level. So that orange string should basically be the top of the bridge deck, roughly. So I tracked down Big Green and the material I was talking to you guys about. I think this is actually like cement or mortar base from when we built the house, and then it got sat in my buddy's barn and hardened, and then now it's been sitting outside for a while, as you can tell. But I figured, hey, work smarter, not harder, and put this down before there's a deck on here. And I'll throw this on the face of this anyway, on the front side where you won't ever really see it. It's not the prettiest stuff. Out here we'll do some decorative boulders and whatnot. I got a whole bunch of those over there, and there's another mountain of them over there. Using telephone poles is unique, right? Because they're tapered, so you got about a 2-inch difference between the one end and the other. So when I actually get ready to do the deck on all this, I will probably use some runners across the top of the telephone poles, and we'll just shim those to level. She ain't pretty, but function over form. I won't call that free, because at some point I paid for that and it was probably not cheap. That's one more thing cleaned up, and they have a whole lot more utility here than they do in some hole in the ground. Again, once the deck's on this, 6 feet wide, I think that is about 5. You won't even see that, because I believe this side is an inch or so low as compared to this side. But again, we're going to be shimming because telephone poles are tapered. So I'll set those 3 on there, and we're just going to line them up with each telephone pole, and then those 4 will span all the way across the top. Here's a final look before we put poles on it. Again, just in here kind of on the bridge deck, it's going to line right up with that walkout. Perfect. A brief interjection. Pallet forks are one of the most underrated front end attachments you can have on a tractor. Once you get a set and start figuring out what you can do with them, they're incredible. Spin, baby, spin. Yeah. Look at that. Well, you can't see it, but I don't know. My bridge is going to fall down now. Get all 3 of these kind of staged, and I'll park the tractor up here, log chain with the forks out, and just kind of pick it up and pull it back. I'm just going to try to pull up the hill first, and then we'll cherry pick it in the spot if I can. crane operator now. Beam me up, Scotty. I'll tell you, for a one-man operation, I'm pretty pleased with that. And maybe somebody out there already had the thought before I did it. Now it's complete happenstance, but throwing that chain around here to lock these together, have my lift point out the end, it was like a boom truck. Can you tell I'm excited? All right, let's go with the other side on. I like it. Wasn't perfect, but man, hard to be mad about that. My top plate scooted a little bit, but I think we're good down here. Yeah, the bottom didn't move at all. The outside of these, I don't know if I mentioned, there's 4 of those, 4 cinder blocks, good for 5 feet wide. So the deck's gonna be 6 feet wide in total. So I want these at the very edge. She ain't perfect, but she's close. I like to get I'll just take the cant hook and roll it to the outside a little bit. I'd like to scoot it that way just a hair too. But I think I'm gonna get the other 2 set here, because there's a good chance I'm gonna bump this and knock it out of where I want it. So we'll get those up here first, and then we'll come back and fine tune. I don't have a whole lot more time today. We'll have the hard part done anyway. That side doesn't look too bad. I'd like to square up that block down there. Yeah, again, this is not gonna be for tractor traffic. The worst part of today so far has been backing the tractor out of that tiny, tiny spot right there. Mostly foot traffic, golf cart, and maybe the grasshopper. Hey! Not bad. But I'm pretty excited. It's gonna be pretty cool when it's done. Whatever that may be. Isn't equipment incredible? There's so much I could not do out here if I didn't have this tractor or the backhoe, but mostly the tractor. Like, imagine trying to do this without having a piece of equipment. You couldn't. It's impossible. There's no way. Like I talked about before, there's going to be some serious shimming going on. The middle one's about 12 inches in diameter, I think, as the biggest point. And that one and the other one on the end are 15. I'm out of time right now, though. I have to cut out of here soon. So I'm going to set the 3rd post off camera, the 3rd telephone pole, or the 3rd girder, whatever you want to call it. And then tomorrow I'll come back on here and we'll hopefully get this thing ready for decking. So here we are almost a week later. Life is busy. A week later, and we got about 2.5 inches of rain or so. So the ground had some moisture and allowed things to settle a bit. Still very pleased with how these things turned out as far as level goes. See right there, dead on the money. I believe that one and this one are perfect. This one's really close, and my left to right, even though they're different diameters, is actually pretty decent too. Obviously this one here sits lower, so we have to do some shimming on all this. I'll tell you, if you have a tractor and you have any kind of trailer and you don't have one of these trailer movers, you can put a trailer wherever you want with so much ease. Love it. I need to chuck the tires, but honestly, if anything's just gonna roll into the camera. Work smarter, not harder, right? If I lower this side here, pretty much level ramp. We use this kind of our workstation, but I got all my 2x6s here, so now comes the fun part. Laying these out and shimming them up. So I started dry fitting things. Perfectionist in me thought, hey Adam, you don't have very good bearing on here, right? You got this flat surface on a round surface. But the more I thought about it and just kind of played with it, once you have the horizontal walk planks on here, it's going to lock everything together. I'm not too worried about this not having great bearing. In a perfect world, which we do not live in, I'd have a wood miser or a sawmill here, and I'd at least flatten that top side and even the bottom side to give me a better surface. I don't think I want to go through that trouble. This is going to be a footbridge, maybe a grasshopper bridge, possibly a golf cart bridge, but there's no need to overthink it. We're doing it on the cheap, and I want to do it relatively quickly. That one's very level too. All right, I got my first 3 pieces on here, and after sitting and studying it for a few minutes, I have my game plan. These 2 outside pieces here, they're a little out of level, but they're pretty much the same height. Obviously here in the middle, I'm going to have to use a second piece, but a second piece is going to be taller than the 2 on the outside. So the plan is double up the outside pieces, and then I will shim the middle piece to be the right height to match. And you might say, well, why don't you just shim this piece to match now? You know, why don't you plane that down or something and shim a piece to match there? The problem is I'm yet to get the outsides level. So I'm gonna use a second board, shim those so they're level, and then also shim that one. So it's gonna be a very tedious and slow process, but it'll work. I'm not gonna do anything more than 3-inch or whatever those are, 3.5-inch exterior screws on those. There's gonna be a lot of weight pressing down on this when it's all said and done. So I'm gonna go ahead off camera, finish these runs, get the outside pieces set and shimmed and the middle piece set, and get this thing ready for deck boards, and then you'll see me again. So here we are the next day. Got everything ready to go for the deck boards. I'm glad I didn't try to film this for you guys last night because I was out here late. As you can see, I had a lot of shimming to do to make this nice and level, but we got a pretty good platform and a base to work from now. Look at this telephone pole here. Actually a pretty good crown in this, and well, it's the wrong way. Ideally you'd want the crown on top, but seating these big things was difficult. But I had to do a lot of shimming here to get this thing level. You can see I got 3 ply on this side here and only 2 on the far one over there. 3 in the middle as well. The span from the 2 outside runners is about dead on 4 feet, which matches that golf cart almost perfectly and the grasshopper. I put a few cross braces on here just to tighten things up, and so these can't roll out of square for now. And this thing is already just rock solid when you walk on it. I think for now I'm gonna just cut everything I need and dry fit them. That way when it's time to screw them down, I can just snap a string line and go for it. You guys didn't think I was gonna throw away good shims, did you? All right, I got all my boards cut and dry fit, but for maybe a few here where I have these supports on here. This thing is going to be rock solid. There's only 3 cross members holding this thing laterally, and already right now it doesn't move. Well, that board rocks. And already you can just feel, once you get these deck boards on here, just how strong it is. Obviously that end over there meets the ground, no problem. On this end, I don't think I'm gonna do a step. I'll bring in a little bit more millings and some fill dirt, bring the area up, and you probably can't tell, but back here by the miter saw, the ground is almost as high as the top of that footbridge. So there are probably more precise ways to do this, but this is working. A little jig here just to keep the spacing off the rails. Rough with the same length on both sides. I'll clean the edges up later. In most cases, if there's a bunch of knots on the board, putting those facing down. If the board's cupped at all, putting the cup side down. So far I've only landed my screw going down onto other screws like 3 times, which actually isn't too bad. All right, she is mostly done. It's solid too. Man, this thing's... I'm gonna go play basketball up here. Last things to do, snap a chalk line, clean the edges up with the circular saw, put a little bit of millings down here and kind of close this up. and a railing at some point, but probably not in this video. That's why I made it 6 feet wide. You saw my daughter out here going crazy. I want to make it at least big enough so that, you know, you're not walking on a real narrow path. Pretty pleased though. Solid, level. Let me walk over here and grab one of these high horsepower machines, and I'll talk to you guys about my other thoughts on this. Oh, there we go. Tell you what, gonna have to have a license to run one of these. So I had said earlier that this may not be the finished surface long term. Given I just put all the time and effort into this, and you know, it's not fancy, but I did put some money into this. I thought about long term putting a rubber membrane on this and then putting Trex decking on top of it. Keep all the substructure dry so that it doesn't rot. We did that on our elevated deck up here, and it's worked out really well. Just be a nice way to keep this foundation, you know, rot free forever. And just kind of help lock everything together there. So what do you think? I'm pretty pleased with it. This side's not too bad. I'll do some more fill work off camera, but for this video, we're gonna call that end done. And these ends are not too flexible right now. I can certainly stand on them and it's not too bad, but I will again put either a strip on top or on the underside. I'm gonna hold off on that though until I know what I'm gonna do about a railing. But I really like the idea of having this bridge to be able to go up to the house, to the basement for the bathroom for folks, and then have a nice little walk out to the pond as opposed to using the main drive. We've had the pond for about 5 or 6 years now, and this is just one more way to make the pond experience all the better. Easy access to the house, restrooms, more drinks, you name it. So if you guys enjoyed this one, I hope you'll stick around as I continue to trim this thing out. Got a lot more to do to make this usable and at least make it what I want. So if you're looking to build yourself a little footbridge, this is one way to do it. Pretty easy, pretty cheap. You can find telephone poles on Facebook for next to nothing, and then just go buy yourself some lumber. All right, on to the next project. See you guys next time. This thing's rock solid. Just trying to dance like my daughter was earlier. How's she doing that? I like it.